Welcome to Senior Strategies. I am your host, Amy Decker, Director of Client Services for Senior Helpers. We are so glad that you were able to join us today for lively conversations with guests that can offer you the tools, strategies, and support so that you can successfully stay on your journey as a caregiver. We hope that you enjoy yourself and find just what you needed to get you through today. Hi, welcome to Senior Strategies. We're so happy that you joined us today. I know that one of the biggest features that I have on my YouTube channel and my Facebook page and my social media is the beauty of when I bring babies to memory care or I share the baby dolls with the patients that I have in Vitas Hospice, and what it does to just kind of open up a part of their brain and bring something pleasant, a pleasant memory. And it's one of my favorite things to do. And I think it's one of the most moving things that you can do. And it's definitely something that alters my day because I know I'm paying it forward and doing something so great for somebody else, even if it's just for a minute or two to give them a good memory. But I'd love to introduce my friend, Sandra Seiden. We are just newfound friends. And I love what she does. And I give her kudos for what she does because she takes it 10 steps beyond taking babies to memory care. She owns a company that's called Personal Ponies of Florida, as well as other things. But welcome, Sandra. And I want you to tell us a little bit more about what you do with Personal Ponies and how did you get started with that?
So I had 4 children. My 4th child was born with special needs, and he was 4 years old. He was undiagnosed at the time, and he was almost completely nonverbal. He said, "Mama, Dada, no, and more." And one sleepless night, I was up late at night, just scouring the internet looking for something else I could possibly do, another therapy, another evaluation I could take him to, anything, because it was really paining my heart that my child was not speaking. And I was really worried that that would change the trajectory of his life if he could never express himself with words.
Aww.
And I found Personal Ponies, and I'm an equestrian. And I just started tearing their national website apart, just looking at everything, reading about everything that they do around the country. And I just thought it was wonderful. And the founder, Marianne Alexander, she had her email there, and I sent her a picture of Jacob. He had just started riding therapeutic horses, a riding program. It was called Horses for the Handicap back then. And I told her how much, horses, how he loved them. And well, we became kind of pen pals and started writing back and forth. And finally she said, "Are you ever going to apply for ponies for Jacob?" Because one of the things they do is they place a pair of ponies with children, of course, whose families can take care of them around the country. It's national.
And that's a big
And
undertaking.
we're a 501c3.
To do that. Wow.
It's more than taking in a puppy. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I figured, there'll be like a 10-year waiting list. And I didn't own any horses back then, so I didn't have a place or a barn or anything. And I thought, sure, I'll apply, which I did. And then about a week later, the phone rang, and it was Marianne Alexander. And she said, "Sandra, dear," she was an older woman. She said, "I have the perfect pair of ponies for little Jacob."
Oh,
So
no.
I was like, okay, better break the news to my husband.
Yeah.
Where am I going to put these things? Well,
wow.
I got it all figured out in about 24 hours.
Wow.
Ran it by my husband, who was like, "You're in charge of this department if you feel this could help Jacob." And I knew how responsive he was to animals.
Right. And did you have room on your property?
No, we lived in a gated country club community at the time. No, but I was a rider, and my daughter, younger daughter, was a rider, and when they found out what I wanted to do, she was like, "Just bring them, we'll figure it out, just have them here, and this will be great." So that's how it started. The day they arrived, Jacob said his first words when they came off. he said, when they opened up the trailer, he didn't know, and he grabbed his mouth and his eyes got like huge, and he started
Oh,
screaming, my ponies, my ponies.
oh,
And it was just,
so sweet.
it was so sweet.
So what an
My
impact that
ponies,
made on
what an
him.
impact. It was like, and then
Wow.
the next day he started saying, see my ponies, and see my ponies turned into, see my ponies peas, see my ponies now. Or all of a sudden, this child who would be clinging to my leg, pushing my hand off of him, that he wanted to walk the pony by himself, and he wanted to
Oh,
brush he didn't want hand over hand,
right.
and I just saw such a huge difference, like
And he was 4.
immediately. He was 4 years old. It was January. He had turned 4 at the end of August, and he hadn't been speaking. I called the pediatrician.
Wow.
I said, look, Jacob is talking. This is what's going on. And she's like, I
Wow.
just saw you for his checkup. I said,
Yeah.
I know. So I told her, if you have any other patients with special needs, I would be more than happy to have them at the barn. And
Wow.
before you know it, I had a schedule of kids that were coming like every day of the week.
Wow.
Um,
I
and the
bet you've
parents
got
were like,
some
can I
pretty
bring them
crazy
next week?
stories
Sure.
then.
Like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it was so fun. And within 3 months, they made me Florida State Director.
Wow.
It's going to be my 22nd anniversary. Well, actually, I think it's next week or something. I'd have
Oh
to look
my
at the
goodness.
calendar, but I'll be doing this 22 years. It's 100% volunteer charity. Nobody's
Wow.
receiving any compensation except, in their heart.
Right.
Um,
And sometimes that's
we,
best.
yeah, we have 5 ponies now. We go to nursing homes. We go to we work with memory care. We do a lot of work with memory care. We do home visits when necessary. During COVID and the quarantine, we were working with patients through a window.
Oh, right.
One of our volunteers built us a ramp so we could get up high enough, the ponies to the window, and
Oh,
they wouldn't have to stretch their heads. And we had a
oh,
speaker inside, a speaker outside, and we could still interact. And the most heartwarming pictures of the residents, the clients putting their fingers up to the window panes, and the
to touch
ponies
the
with their
pony.
noses, and they just would
Oh,
watch us at that time brushing the ponies and giving them treats, and
wow.
decorating them, and listen to us singing to them. um, so we've been doing this for years. We also work with, obviously, with children with special needs,
Hmm.
but we really work with a lot of seniors. People
Yeah,
associate ponies with children, but the
right.
truth of the matter is, I could tell you stories in memory care which would blow you away.
I
One of my
bet.
very favorites was a woman, and I even remember her name, Shirley, and she was embracing my white pony, Sugar, and her head was down on Sugar's face, and she was smiling, and her eyes were closed, and all of a sudden she began to cry. And I
Oh,
said, oh, Shirley, are those happy tears? And she shook her head and she said, no. And I said, what are you thinking about? And she said, when I was a little girl, my grandparents bought me a little white pony named Coconuts. And I said, well, that's a happy memory. And she said, no. When the soldiers came,
oh
we had to
no.
leave Coconut behind.
Oh,
And the staff confirmed that she was a Holocaust survivor.
oh my goodness.
And they couldn't believe it. I say it's like, if you're drinking club soda on your bedside and you leave it, and in the morning it's flat.
Hmm.
And if you look at it long enough, all of a sudden you'll see a little bubble come to the top.
Uh-huh.
The program, the ponies, the smell, the touch, the
Yeah,
feel, the embrace, it's almost like it unleashes a little
something.
bubble in
Yes,
the memory portion of the brain. And,
right.
we've heard wonderful stories of them telling us stories through the years of how horses were part of their childhood growing up, where
Yeah.
they grew up on a farm and they were
Hmm.
plowing the fields using horses, or
Or even something as
it's really
similar as going
incredible.
to the circus or going to the fair and riding on the merry-go-round. Everybody liked riding on the horses on the so a horse
Of
very often
course.
is associated to happy memories with that. So
Mhm.
now you've expanded. So you've been doing this 20 some years. So now instead of people
22 years.
22 years, now you're going all
Yeah.
over the place. So if somebody wanted, whether it's an assisted living community, wanted to have you come to them, or we've got a lot of listeners and viewers from all over the US, actually the UK and Canada too. But if they wanted to get a hold of you to see how you could benefit either their loved one or their community, what's the best way to find you?
So if they're not in Florida, then they could just look up personal ponies and contact the national director to see if there are personal ponies in their area.
Mhm.
If they're in Florida, they can just I would come up right away if you Google us
Good.
personal ponies and you put in
Right.
Florida, it
Right.
comes up right away.
And
Yeah.
of course, while you're doing all of this and all these years that you've dedicated to the ponies, your life was hunky dory with no stress and no other responsibilities and nothing else going on, wasn't it? So it was super
Nothing. I didn't
to
know what
have
I was going to
ponies.
fill my day with each day. Exactly.
Oh, so tell us
Um,
a little bit about what, on the side of making everybody happy and doing so great, what were you dealing with on a personal level?
Well, raising a child with special needs, but of course, I saw the beauty and the value in this program, not just since this program, the power of the horse, because I've been an equestrian since I was a young child. So I know what the horses have done for me and have
Mhm.
continued to do for me, through the hiccups in my life.
Right,
But I saw what it was doing for Jacob, and that was, my incentive, that it was like when you have something really good, you want to share it.
right,
You want other people to be able to benefit. I could have just kept
right.
the ponies for my child, but I was excited about it, and I saw how the difference it made in him. And that's why I really wanted to get involved in the community. And we're
Yeah.
very involved in the community.
And to share your wonderful
Both,
experience. Hmm.
exactly.
And then you
But to
had three
answer
other
your
children, though,
question,
too. So you
I
had not
did.
only
I
Jacob, but
do.
three
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
children. Yes. So on top of raising
Absolutely.
four
That's,
children, you had a lot going on, but there had to be something therapeutic or cathartic just doing, like you say, handling the ponies and watching the
I've
baby.
always, I mean, I grew up in a home where my mother was always doing charity work and I was the
Oh,
youngest child. So I was always being dragged along with her. So
oh,
I grew up with a sense that helping others and doing charity work, it comes from my heart, but it's a basic
right.
responsibility. Um, so I've always, even before Jacob was a twinkle in my eye, because he was our
Mm-hmm.
surprise child a
Ah,
little bit later in life. And I was always involved in fostering animals and driving cancer patients back and forth to
wow.
therapy with Road to Recovery. And, I was always with a kitten in my lap and a bottle, or if I fostered for
Oh,
wildlife. So I had,
yeah.
baby raccoons that I was nursing and getting ready to be released. So
Wow.
I've always done charity work. But once, personal ponies came into my life, it really became my
I
passion.
bet.
And it was very, very rewarding. So I did
Yeah.
have a lot of other stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
My oldest, besides my youngest son having special needs, my oldest son, probably from late in high school to the end of his life, suffered from addiction.
Oh,
And that was always a
oh,
lot going
yeah.
on with that. And unfortunately, it's coming on 7 years. He passed away from an accidental, a fentanyl poisoning, an accidental
Oh, my
overdose of fentanyl
goodness.
poisoning in March of 2018.
Wow.
And at the time, I just, I wanted the pain to go away. I mean, I just didn't know how to get through it. So I started, ordering every book on grief on Amazon. They all basically said the same thing, and joining any, um,
Support group.
support group that I could, both private therapy and, anything. I knew I wasn't the mom that wanted to just get into bed and just put the covers over her
Right.
head and say, I can't
Mhm.
move forward without, my child. I just was like, I've got to figure out how to
Well,
get
you
through
didn't
this,
want
how to get
anybody
to a
else to
better
feel the
place.
pain that you felt. So, because of the pain that you felt and how you felt when you did go to bed at night, your experience, you wanted to learn something from that so that you could help somebody else down the road that was dealing with it.
Yes.
That's who
So
you
the
are.
very first, the very first thing I did is I still have her. She runs Healing Hearts in Coral Springs.
Uh-huh.
The and she invited me to come speak at a rehab that she worked at during the day,
Oh,
and I cried through a lot of
I
that.
bet.
I
I
told I
bet.
told Joshua's story. I told my story, and I got really, really inspired after that. I felt like I could make a difference.
Mhm.
That I could help with the communication breakdown between people suffering from addiction and a mother who had
Right.
a child that suffers with
Mm.
addiction,
Mhm.
because the communication breaks down.
Sure. And you're out of control.
So,
You're so out of
with that
control.
said,
Yeah.
a friend of mine was a therapist at another rehab, um, and I started coming every month. I'd
Oh,
come every single month, and I was there for about 3 hours, and I would tell
wow.
Joshua's story. I would tell my story, and then we would open up the floor that they could ask me anything they wanted, and I could ask them any
Oh,
question I
great.
wanted. And I did have some questions
I bet you
that I
did.
wanted not to come from something I read, but I wanted to come from,
Yeah.
no pun
Somebody
intended, the horse's
personal.
mouth.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And it was very healing for me and very rewarding. And the next thing I started doing is I started inviting women who had lost a child, um, to addiction, to come with me. And if they wanted to, they all said, I'm just going to go and listen. But they all ended up speaking.
Because they all
So
have
it
their
was
own
kind of
journey.
like a
Oh,
snowball effect. Like it just kind of
yes.
got bigger. And then of course, I got into making it was pretty endless, doing handouts to the homeless, making hygiene bags,
Oh, right.
um, giving out Narcan, because it was always upsetting to me that when I got Joshua's, my son's belongings back, he had two Narcans just sitting in his uh, bag that were never
Oh,
used on him.
oh my goodness.
They
And so
He had
all
his
of these
wallet
little
stolen, but they never used the Narcan
never
on
use
him.
the
And for those
Narcan.
who don't know,
But you
for
don't.
those who
Yeah,
don't
you
know
don't
what
know.
Narcan
Right.
is,
Right.
it's something that you can put up somebody's nose if they're overdosing. It's a
Right.
2-year-old could administer it. You press a button
And
and
that's it.
it will usually block the drug, and you'll have enough time to call 911 and possibly a second one, give them another dose of it, and it will never hurt them,
Right.
but it could save their life. So
Oh.
I started kind of going
Well,
up a
but
lot of different lanes.
you did. And I think every little struggle that you've dealt with, one of those for one person, they would have wanted to go to bed and pull their covers over their head. Now, two of those to deal with that, you use these as like instead of a stumbling block, you've used them as a stepping stool to educate everybody else
Yes.
around you. And I think that's what's so beautiful about you is you're using this as an opportunity to take your broken heart that is mending on your own because of what you're doing to pay it forward for other people and help those out there that just really don't have any tools or strategies of how to even deal with the loss of a child, whether it's a loss of a child or dealing with a child with special needs. How did your other
So,
children deal with all of it?
um, siblings deal very differently.
Differently.
Sometimes they're the silent grievers. They don't really tend to join support groups. Maybe they'll see a therapist. So
Mm-hmm.
very different. They grew up in a household with a mother who was always volunteering, who was
Yeah,
always classroom mother
right,
in their classrooms. So, I've always kind of been the octopus in many different ways.
right. But such a
The
great
first,
example. I mean, such a great example to your kids to see that you are doing this. And I am assuming then you have a supportive husband that's also on the side cheering you on.
I did. I did. I did. Um, the next thing that I did is I started a program called Step It Forward.
Uh-huh.
I noticed every time Josh had been in a rehab, they lose all their clothing, or they sell them, or
Right.
they lose them along the way. So I started collecting gently used footwear and new
Oh,
socks that I could bring to rehabs and places, and provide footwear for people in recovery.
aw.
That still exists. We're still doing that.
And what is it
And then
called?
the next thing that happened is, that was Step It Forward.
Step It Forward. Okay, good to know.
Step It Forward, you can find it on Facebook.
Good.
And the next thing was, one of those stand-up food pantries through TLC.
Uh-huh.
It's on the property of the farm where my big horse is in Coconut Creek. And Dr. Blair Barone runs a program there. She owns the farm, and she does group therapy with rehabs that come there. So there's about 100 clients a
Oh,
week that come and
wow.
go on the property.
Mhm.
And along with another organization that I teamed up with, Kindness Shared, Happiness Squared, Jennifer Altieri,
Mhm.
who's a dear friend. We collect food for the pantry, and we keep the pantry filled. We keep the
Oh,
pantry filled so people can just help
wow.
themselves to the food in the pantry. It's canned food and things like that. So,
Wow.
um, but it's good stuff. Anyway, but with the support groups, I found this support group called Helping Parents Heal. It's a national, and it's actually worldwide. And I became the Southeast Florida affiliate leader.
Wow.
And that is something that I do hope anybody listening to this podcast who has lost a child or
Mhm.
knows somebody who has lost a child, it is not a journey to do alone.
No
No
way.
matter how loving and supportive your friends are, your family is, um, to have a, a community
Yes.
of other parents who
Right.
are speaking the same language as you, who really truly understand
That journey.
um,
Yeah.
the journey. Some friends are now other parents that are part of this organization.
Wow. Oh
And
my goodness.
it
It's just
truly
so heartwarming to
means
hear
so
so.
much to me,
Yes. And to see just so many people that get together that
so
you're just,
that's what I do.
yeah, yeah. And I was gonna say, do you take any time for your, like, do you ever take a break? Like take a little
I
time to
do. I
yourself.
take time for myself. I do. I have a horse that I ride,
Good.
and that really I'm a trail rider, and I go into the forest and
Oh
just
my
breathe.
goodness. Good for
So,
you.
I think the message that I would like to share, and as you know, the way, if you remember how you met me, Amy.
Yes, I was just gonna bring that up. Yes.
So, unfortunately, my husband passed away 5 months ago.
Yes.
He had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and he
Oh,
was young. He
yeah.
passed away when he was 66 years old.
Very young.
And it went very, very fast. For the last 5 years, he's been spiraling intensely,
Mhm.
to a point where his soul was barely in the body.
Yeah.
And that was very, very difficult. And I was really challenged because a big percentage of the clients that I work with the ponies, um, have some sort of
Of a
dementia. So
dementia.
I was
Right.
wondering how this was going to affect me. But luckily, I still was fine, but fine by day.
Right.
I was still okay.
Well,
A
sure.
lot
And
of,
you had to have those private moments at night where you were just sitting in a chair reading a book and it
a
just
lot of
hit you
a
like a
lot of
brick.
sadness. Yeah, it was
Yes.
a
Yes.
lot of. I mean, it was another form of grief for five
Oh
years,
my,
to be
yes.
honest.
Yes.
His disease was camouflaged by depression and grief because the symptoms are very, very parallel. Depression, anxiety, and grief are almost identical to the beginning stages, you know.
And how long
And
before he was diagnosed, how long was that journey before he actually passed?
5 years.
Wow. Oh, that was really
Before
bad.
that, it was just, you know, he was taking two different antidepressants
Right.
and ADHD. They were giving him ADHD medication. He was a brilliant
Oh,
man. He was a
yeah.
brilliant trial attorney. And he was saying, I can't focus. I feel like I'm in
Yeah.
a fog.
Right.
And he was being, I mean, I don't blame the doctor. He was describing like,
Well, sure. And he
you
he
know,
was on the same journey that you were. So he too was dealing with the death of his
but
son
he dealt with it differently.
differently, I'm sure. Because
I mean, everybody, the journey of grief is as unique as a fingerprint. Everybody, deals differently. What I did realize is that the loss of Josh almost 7 years ago taught me a very valuable lesson. And, before Josh passed, I thought black or it's white. So you're either sad or you're happy. You're either excited or you're dreading something.
Right.
You're either, I thought it was black and white. And what I learned is, if you think about grief or loss or something bad that happens, and you picture it to be like 100-pound weight that you could barely roll. And over time, when you hear people say time does not heal. No, time does not heal.
No.
We heal. We heal ourselves. We make a choice.
Right.
We can't help what happens to us, but we can help how we react to it, and we can help how we move forward. And so I think some people are just a little more productive in that
And you are
alley.
You are a stunning example of making lemonade when lemons are thrown and hitting you right in the face. So I think, and I love your analogy about putting soda water and setting it aside and then getting up the next morning and seeing one little bubble pop up out of that. I'm going to remember that.
One little bubble.
Yes. I love it.
Because it always does that. If you look at it long enough, it does that.
Yes.
So the point that I wanted to make was you can still feel the same grief, but at the very same time, not at a different time during the day, the same exact time, you can still be grieving and feel sharpness and feel pain. And at the same time, feel grateful and invite joy into your moment.
Right.
And I think that's so important to know. I mean, to me, it almost seems like the key to life.
It is
that you be able to allow yourself.
Multiple emotions. It's like a smorgasbord. And I think you're right. So many people think, I'm sad this morning, or there's guilt because they are feeling happy. They're dealing with the loss of a loved one, and now I don't want to feel happy. So now I'm guilty and happy and sad.
Or I don't want to feel happy because what would people think? Look, my husband's been gone 5 months.
Right.
And I'm, I still, might have moments of sadness and feeling like I need a good cry in the shower or the car. That was the best place to do that. I don't know what people on the road think, but whatever. But at the same time, I'm enjoying my life. I am inviting joy into my life, and I am so grateful. I have the most wonderful people in my life, and
we are so grateful to have you. We are so, I don't think the world knows what they have with you. And I think so many people out there, like I said, when you have a hiccup, yours is far more than a hiccup, but they have tragedies that hit their life. You've had multiple ones, and yet your goal is to learn about that tragedy. And now, how can I start an organization so that I can help?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just, I feel like if I have something good that's been helpful to me, that it's something I can share, I can offer to somebody else. I can offer an ear to somebody else who is going through the same thing, because I know that together we're stronger.
We are. And I think they often say you never know what people are going through, so always be kind. There could be days you're keeping it together like with a toothpick and a Band-Aid, always be kind. You have no idea what people have gone through. So here's what I want you to do before we leave. I want you to mention your organizations slowly again and how they can find these organizations to help support what you're doing.
So
start with one.
everything, of course, can be found on Facebook.
Okay.
So Personal Ponies Florida, they can find me on Facebook, or my email address is personalponiesfl@aol.com. They can drop me an email and reach out to me. You can Google the organization also, and we'll pop up. Our website is www.personalponies and then a little hyphen, little dash fl.org. And that's the best way. We are 100% volunteers. So if anyone is local and listening and would like to volunteer, you don't need any experience as long as you're not afraid of animals. And it's a lot of fun. We go on pony trips every week. We go into hospitals, nursing homes, schools with special ed departments, with kids. We work with addiction. We work with social and emotional disorders, and it's very rewarding. We have volunteers from the age of 13 volunteering with a parent, and our oldest volunteer is 84.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she's great. So there's really a place for everybody in the charity Personal Ponies.
Good.
Yes.
And then what's the next one?
So if you have lost a child, there is Healing Hearts, and that is in Coral Springs, and that is an in-person, that is run by a therapist, completely free of charge, and anybody who has lost a child can reach out and get lots of support there, both meetings separate and with the therapist there. Wonderful. And then the other organization that I'm involved with, and I'm the Southeast Florida affiliate leader, is Helping Parents Heal. You can find the national one, Helping Parents Heal, on Facebook. And of course, Google them and get to their website. And you can also, if you're local, join us at Helping Parents Heal SE for Southeast Florida. Wow. And that will put you directly in touch with me and our group. We do wonderful Zoom meetings twice a month. And then we also meet offline, and we do things like beach healing, sound healing, meditation. We've done some art therapy. And sometimes we just do dinner or happy hour and just enjoy each other's company. But it's a very, very good and supportive company. And then anyone who wants to donate sneakers or new socks or non-perishable food, they can just reach out to me, Sandra Seiden, and I will make arrangements to pick it up from them, or they can drop it off. That's wonderful.
That's wonderful. You're just a one-stop shop of blessings and love. Truly, you are. You are just remarkable. You are a remarkable person, and I just wanted to make sure I got you on the show because you cover every aspect of anything anybody could be dealing with, and yet you smile. And I'm sure there's moments that you don't all the time. But I know you were busy, and I know I just wanted to snag you to get you on for a little bit so that if anybody out there can do anything to assist you on your journey, whether it's helping out with all the different organizations,
that's
why I wanted to have you on the show. So we're blessed to have you in this world.
You know what? I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you. And I would love to see your babies.
Yeah.
That you're bringing to nursing homes.
So we'll do that. Maybe we'll double up and we'll do ponies and babies on the same visit.
We'll do ponies and babies. And I did see one baby I see babies all the time, but I see sometimes those electronic cats and dogs. And I see the reaction, but with the babies, I saw one woman with a baby, and it was incredible because she was in really, rough shape.
Yeah.
But yet she was supporting
the head.
That's what do you call it? Muscle memory or something.
Is.
She was supporting the baby's head, and every once in a while picking the baby up and doing everything just as I'm sure she had raised
Right.
a lot of children and grandchildren.
And like anything
And
else, some liked having babies, and others, when I go into memory care, I'll go to put a baby in there. Nothing to do with it.
so they couldn't wait for the kids to leave for
Yeah, get
college.
out. I've done my time. But yeah, we'll have to double up and do that
It's
together.
funny.
But in the
We'd love
meantime,
to.
you're a wonderful person. Thank you for sharing all of your
Thank you
information.
for having me.
And if anybody has any questions for Sandra, you know you can get a hold of us on my Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube is where we'll be airing the show. But certainly reach out to me if there's anything else that you need to know. And thank you so much for joining us. And Sandra, you have a blessed day.
Thank you so much, Amy, for having me.
Thank you for watching our show. We hope that you found an answer to a question or a resource that can assist you. Our goal is to keep all of you that are caregivers informed, refreshed, and heard. We're here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We have all the resources that you'll need. Please follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages for the up-and-coming shows and events and support groups. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your support.